So I want to talk really briefly about implementing the heads-up display scripts from the Island project into our current game. And I'll just zip through this process really quickly. And the setup for this is that I've copied my Island scripts and my GUI folder to my desktop. And I want to point out that you'll likely get an error once we drag the Island scripts into the Marble game, because you'll end up with a duplicate script, and I'll just demonstrate that. So I'm going to go to my Marble scripts folder, and I'll drag and drop my Island scripts, and once I do that, you can see down here I'm getting a script error, and the reason is because I have duplicate scripts in two different folders. I have an animation trigger script here, and also in the original Island folder I also had a copy of that animation trigger. And until you get rid of that duplication, until you get rid of this error, Unity will not allow you to mess with some of these scripts. The whole thing, the whole compiling engine will just error and tell you that it hasn't finished compiling. So what I'm going to do in order to fix this is I'm simply going to select one of the instances of the animation trigger script and just delete it. Once I do that, now I can start functioning normally as I have in the past. And the first thing I want to do is go to my Marble and drag and drop my player status script onto the Marble. So I'll do that by dragging and dropping my player status onto my Marble. Once I do that, I can look over here in the property inspector and see that I have my player status script attached to my Marble object. Okay, and I'm going to start my health out at 100, and I'm going to leave my points set to 0. And my recommendation is every time you start applying a script or implementing scripts, make sure you test it every time, just to make sure that things are still working. So I'll toggle the play button. The next thing that I need to do is I want to introduce some simple pickup objects. So I grabbed my coin model from the previous project, and I'll just drag and drop that to the stage. I'm not going to animate it or anything. When I hit the play button right out of the box, it's not going to work, and that's because I don't have it set up as a trigger with a collider, or with a collider as a trigger, and I haven't applied the pickup script to it yet. So I'll do this really quickly. With that coin selected, I'm going to go to Components, Physics, and I'm going to add a box collider. So now I have a collider object, and I'll set that to trigger. Once that's the case, it can receive the pickup script that we used in the Island project, and I can drag and drop that pickup script onto the coin. I'll modify the pickup script in the inspector just a bit by adding 10 points to that coin. So every time I pick it up, I earn 10 points. And I'll just hit the play button and test this to make sure it works. If it works, I should be able to run into that coin and it disappears, and it does. So everything seems to be working okay. Next thing that I want to do is I want to implement my GUI. And there's going to be a GUI and a HUD. The GUI is simply a set of graphics that shows progress. In this case, I just mocked up a couple of coins, and it'll show progress of picking up the coins on the display as we move through the interface. So again, this can be modified and scaled to suit your needs. What I'll end up doing here is I'm going to go into my GUI folder. So I need to drag that into my Assets folder. And once that comes in, I'll select the GUI folder. I'll select the Collect 0 graphic, because that'll be my starting graphic. With that selected, I can go to Game Object, Create Other, and I want to set this as a GUI texture. Now, the moment I do that, it doesn't really do anything until I hit the play button, because that GUI texture gets rendered once we run the game. And I can see that when I run this, my graphics a little squashed and stretched, and so what I want to do is I want to make sure that when I select this object, it's being rendered at 512 pixels by 640. I want to make these match the size of my graphic, and so my graphics are actually 400 pixels wide by 90 pixels high. And so now when I run this, you'll see that they, fit proportionally on the screen. Now they're right in the middle of the screen, which is not what I want. So I'm going to change the Y value to something like, let's try 200. And I'll hit the play button. That should move them up. And it does. And it's right in the center of the screen, so maybe I'll move it over just a bit, and so I'll change this X value. Let's try 100 and see what we get. And so we'll just have to kind of tweak these settings, and that's pretty much exactly where I want it. So right now, when I hit the play button, I have a GUI texture, and when I run over the coin gets picked up, and I presumably added some points, but I don't see that reflected in my GUI. So I'll take care of that right now. This collect 0, this is the GUI texture that gets rendered on screen. And with that selected, what I need to do is go into my my scripts folder. Here I have the island scripts. And in fact, let me rename that, because that just doesn't work for me. I'll call those HUD scripts. And what I want to do is I want to take the object collect script and drag and drop it onto my my GUI texture. Once I drag and drop that, I need to feed the script some additional information. This script is looking for the collect 0, 1, 2, and 3 graphic. And if you remember, those are the graphics that I created that represent the progress here. So there's graphic 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's showing the progress. And so I just need to go into my GUI folder, and I'll drag collect 0, collect 1. So I'm just matching up the fields with the files. So now this script knows that as I collect objects, this script tells it to update this GUI texture. So let me test this. When I hit the play button, the first thing you'll notice is that your GUI texture disappears, and that's because when you don't have anything, it doesn't show you anything. I pick up a coin, and now I have a coin. Now I could change that so that I see the empty GUI texture when I start, so it doesn't vanish when I hit the play button, and that you can just tweak and modify in the script. And you can look at the script and see if you can figure out that trigger. If you get hung up on that, just post in the discussion board and we can talk about it. So currently we have this heads up display working. I'm going to select the coin just to get another instance of this coin. I'll duplicate it and I'll move that off to the side just a bit. And so now as I pick up coins, I should get GUI progress. There we go. So in this case, I only made it to work with 4 objects and pick up 4 objects. So you know, you might need to scale this heads-up display if you decide to use it. There's no requirement to use it. I want to keep pushing forward, and I want to talk about getting your health and your point feedback up on screen as GUI text. We'll do that in the next presentation.